yet another live show here on Hope Teens. It's a happy Sunday, of course. It has been raining and we have seen a lot of, the Anna is at its duty. So I want to say a very warm welcome to our viewers, of course, our team that has been with us all through the run. Today we are here with yet another exciting topic of the day, and my guest of the day is someone that you already know. He has been here before, except for this year. We're supposed to say Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Welcome. So this is Mr. Mbewe. Mr. Mbewe, you're welcome once again.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Is it good evening, viewers?
This should be evening.
It should be evening, yes. Good evening. It's good to be back here.
You are welcome, and we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, so many of our viewers might be wondering, yes, we have said you're Mr. Mbewe, but probably you would give us a brief, introduction about yourself. Who is this Mr. Mbewe, and what are we looking forward to today in the show?
Well, Mr. Mbewe is a youth leader, a father, a husband. Yeah. And today we're looking at something very important that deals with our health. Yes.
Okay, so today on our show we are kicking on, breaking the ice, of course, with a topic of mental health, or rather mental illness. I think I kind of have a confusion between the two, mental health and mental illness, but we have a doctor, of course, who is going to explain to us. Probably there's somebody out there who has the same confusion that I have. Now, you will agree with me to say, as we are at this point in time of our lives, most of us, our teenagers, the youths, and probably the world at large, this includes mommies and daddies and any elderly person that you would think of, mental illness has been the talk of the day, and you would agree with me that many people are going through this situation. Some, it could be knowingly and unknowingly, others are aware and others are not. And of course, this mental illness comes with a whole lot of challenges that might result into it. So today, let's get to educate and interact. Don't forget to meet us at our social media platforms on Facebook and of course on YouTube, Hope Channel Zambia. And of course, if you want to send your comments and contributions to the show is running, you can reach us on 0976 151517, 0976 151517. Send your comments and together we get to educate each other on today's show as we get to educate and to learn on mental health. Mr. Mbewe, what is mental illness?
Mental illness is a condition that is characterized with behavior.
Okay.
A disorder that is characterized with thinking disorders, behavior, and isolation, moods, so on and so forth.
Okay, so by that explanation or the response that you have given us, there are a lot of attributes that would bring about mental illness. Now, before, just when I started, I earlier mentioned there could be a question or rather a confusion in someone's mind right now. What is the difference between mental illness and mental health?
Mental health is simply the ability for ones to know, or let me say mental health is what we live with.
Okay.
It can be in good or bad, but then it makes one knows their ability. Whilst mental illness is a condition characterized with what I mentioned, moods, behavior, and isolation, so on and so forth.
Okay, so the mental health, it's on everyone.
Yes.
It becomes a challenge when it becomes a mental illness.
Yes.
So basically, our major interest of the day would be on the mental illness and not the mental health, because we know mental health is for everyone. Now let's focus on the mental illness. What are some of the reasons that you think, as a doctor, as a parent, as a person who has been exposed to society, and of course have interacted with many people, what would be some of the causes for this mental illness, more especially on the teenagers of today?
All right, the few causes of mental illness on the teenagers as for today and many others, I would say, one, sexual abuse.
Okay.
Family ill treatment, poverty. I would add exposure to wrong things.
Okay.
All right, and one, not knowing who they really are. Allow me to explain those.
Okay.
Number
Even
one,
better.
we are talking about sexual abuse. The society we are living in, we have a lot of abuse. When a young person is sexually abused, it lives with them. It creates an emotion that makes them feel wrong about themselves, which, if not carefully looked at, might lead to doing a lot of wrong things.
Okay.
These are children, or these are young people who we find that they become loose, as per se. They just become children that they just go on and rampage, just becoming sexual active. They don't care who they sleep with because they've been sexually abused, and by the end of the day, they have a mental illness. They feel guilty to some extent. They feel threatened to some extent.
Okay, so just before you go to another part, whilst we are here, a few weeks ago we had a topic on early pregnancies, and now today that we have this mental health, it draws my attention to think in a certain direction. So you have this early pregnancy and you're talking about sexual abuse. When you put them together, are we right to say that a higher percentage of our teenagers who might be sexually abused now or who are being pregnant could actually be a victim of this mental health?
We can agree to that because, honestly, sexual abuse has become something that is all over and which has led to young people to have early pregnancies, get sick, not forgetting the mental health itself. All right? Here is a child who's being abused in their own home.
Yes, that one.
In their own house. Worse to say, their own relative. They have no one to tell because he is a relative who is threatening them. The next thing is to either isolate themselves, not talk to anybody, or go out there to find someone who seemingly wants to comfort them, who again sexually abuse them, impregnate them.
And just advise that it's not going to be beneficial.
There's nothing that is going to be beneficial because she is failing to come out.
So in that manner or in that scenario where you have this child who has gone through that sexual abuse and they are going through that mental illness, what would be the best way that you would advise you as a doctor on how this child can be helped in that state?
You see, these are things that we are not talking about, and these are things that are affecting us. These are things that no matter what we run or how we run away from, they are affecting us. Us as a community, us as a church, us as a society. Mental illness has been seen to be a Western illness, and we've failed to pay attention to it, but it is growing.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
We have failed to know why is this issue of early pregnancies coming from. We have failed to interact with the young people. They have failed to come out. So it's important that we now bring out issues to the young people for them to come out.
Okay.
So for them, it is high time that you and me, the way we've come out today, and parents together, the church, all right, it is high time we know, the children know, and they realize to say, I have to go and talk to someone. Before it even reaches to a stage where they go to the hospital because they are pregnant. All right? If they come to the hospital, she is pregnant, she is 15. We find to say their children who are 15, that is a defilement, right? In our laws. But there is a family or a parent who brings a child who is 15 and pregnant, the culprit is not known. And they are comfortable with it, of which is not right. So it is that time that we start looking at it in the community. How do I get to deal with this? It is high time that the church decides to create platforms where they can talk to young people to identify themselves, to know. It is high time that maybe in schools, children, young people can be educated and say, if you are living with a relative who is sexually molesting you, who is sexually abusing you, let it out. Don't hide. If they'll tell you that they'll kill you, come on, they are law enforcers. Go to the police.
Yeah, I think that is actually one of the things that are becoming a challenge, because apparently, to some extent, even the fathers of, a daughter has been abused by their own father, and they're meant to keep quiet about it because they've been threatened. And fear is something that you can't. When fear has been instilled in a child, it's very hard to get it out. But just as you said, I think it's high time there was an advocacy and awareness coming to that. Now, on the health conditions of mental illness, you have things like emotion and thinking. These are some of the things that get to be affected in a child's life when they are mentally ill. Now, when you talk about the mental aspect of it, and the emotion aspect of it, how does a child get to behave when they have been emotionally attacked or emotionally infringed in some way, to the extent of them going to that shell of being mentally ill?
Let's bring it to a child. You find a 3, 4, 5-year-old child, lives with a father and a mother, and a father who is abusive. Every time the father comes, beats the child. We watch on social media, we watch on TV where a child runs trying to protect the parents, right? And the more they see that, you either see the following: a child isolating themselves, a child becoming abusive to the others, becoming a bully at school, a child using imperative language, okay? A child not wanting to be with people. They are emotionally affected because they would not love to see that, but they are emotionally affected with what they see.
Very true.
Okay, so if we realize that, we should be able to see, look, this child is behaving strangely. They are growing up very well.
And then
bright at school. They are bright at school in grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Suddenly, they stop. She was passing number 1. He was passing number 1. Suddenly, those number 1s disappear. They become vice versa. She is in the last one. We don't take time to ask, but what is the problem? Are they undergoing abuse, or are they emotionally affected with something? Are they being bullied at school? But basically, from your question, I would say you would see isolation, you would see the mood swings, which will lead their behavior in a certain way, and you must realize that they are emotionally affected somewhere.
Okay, so now when you have been in that situation, what are the long-term side effects of being mentally disturbed? Because let's take a scenario. There are certain things that happen to us, and of course, our teenagers of today are ones that are, quite smart. You know to say what is happening to you is not okay, but then you just want to harbor it within yourself. You don't have the, maybe let's say, environment or the right people to spread it to. So certain things begin to happen and you don't want to tell. Let's say maybe you've been sexually abused and you don't want to talk to anyone. You harbor it in yourself. You don't have anyone to talk to. Let's say you have been heartbroken, and you put it in your heart. You don't want to share it to anyone. Let's say things are just not going on for you. Emotionally, you are not okay, but you don't have someone to talk to. And it means that thing that you're keeping, it keeps growing each and every day because you haven't found a solution. So what are the long-term effects of being emotionally unstable when it comes to mental illness?
Well, there are one or two long-term ones. With the exposure that we have, you find here is a child, you will never know they're into drug abuse. which becomes a long-term effect. When they get into drugs, they're not aware, they're in marijuana, they're drinking, they become alcoholic, so on and so forth, which will not only affect their mental illness, but it will affect other parts of the body.
True.
Kidney failure, so on and so forth. Others will go into depression. And when they go into depression, if untreated, it will turn into suicides. We've heard or we've seen, it brings me to my year of 2022, not starting very well, where I've seen unwanted deaths. Because one is depressed. They cannot come out. And so the next thing is depression. Depression, you hear suicide. And we start remaining to ask ourselves questions.
What went wrong?
What went wrong?
Someone was harboring issues.
Someone was harboring issues. So those are long-term effects. If a child is abused, a long-term effect, abused, she falls pregnant at 14. She becomes a teenage mother. If not well talked to, if not well counseled, she has problems with the child. And that also brings teenage pregnancy, brings certain conditions. You find that maybe there is maternal death because she's young, she's not fully grown. All right? The next thing you hear, maybe she was abused. The person who abused that girl is HIV positive. The child has to live without HIV. And with the most misconception that people have that you can maybe go to do this to if let's say she is really hurt, then she decides to spread that. There are STIs. There is a lot that you can find that will lead to have someone have that long-term mental health illness.
Okay, so now, having to hear what you have said so far and a whole lot of connections to this mental health, so mental illness. So we are told there's a whole component of emotions, thinking, of behavior, and to some extent probably character could be built because of, but then how would you advise for someone to balance? Because as a teenager or even the grown-ups, the youths and the ambassadors and all those categories, this is something, the happenings that would lead to mental health are some that are so inevitable, some of them. There are things that you just don't have control over, they just happen. But what would you advise a teenager out there? Because these problems, they are not excluded from them. Talk about the thinking part, talk about the emotions part. And coming to bring it to our teenagers, I think it comes as a whole lot because for them it comes with, self-esteem and all those things that we have been talking about, bringing it up together, of which if one of the component is not there, it would lead them to go in that way. So how would you advise that this mental illness could be balanced before it goes to an illness? How can somebody get to balance out their emotions and just fix themselves before it gets to being an illness?
Open up.
That was direct.
Open up. You see, there are times that we feel closed up. Okay, my results are bad at school. Let me open up. If I cannot open up to my parents, let me go to the next person who I feel, if I open up to this person, is going to advise me very well. Reading is another thing. Look, there are people who've overcome mental illness in a different way. Let us read about them.
Okay.
All right? Let us read about them. When you read, get motivated from those. Don't isolate yourself. Don't think, I think being with people, being alone, I can sort out things. Come on, be with people. Because if the moment I be alone, the thoughts that I have would, that maybe it's what I feel is just on a surface, but I'll go deep until I make myself confused, emotionally disturbed. All right. So the best way is open up.
Okay, now to my other friends who don't have the. I think opening up also goes with courage and confidence. So let's also try and cover up for our friends who are not, maybe let's say, courageous enough to open up to people. We can't deny the fact of life to say we have the introverts and we have the, the other parts of introverts and extroverts and all those people. So this is a person who can't get to open up, but then they are suffering within. Maybe they do try to say I need to talk to someone, but they just can't because that is in them. What is the other way to help them in that situation?
Here is a child. Let's not only talk about a child. Let's talk about a child. Let's talk about an adult. They cannot come out. They cannot open up. They live around people. It's very cardinal around us who are around to be able to identify, to say, okay,
notice some changes.
There are some changes in here.
Okay.
All right. This person was a person who would talk to anybody, jump around, but they've isolated themselves. We need to reach out to them.
Okay.
We reach out to them, talk to them, let them open up. Look, here is Esau, who loves going to camps, who loves outdoor activities. Suddenly, you notice to say Esau is that person that loves, and he hears there's an outdoor activity, he will be there. He's a person who, he's not an extrovert per se, but he's a person who has got that sense of humor. He makes you laugh. Over a sudden, he's isolating himself.
Sad. True.
Why not reach out and find out what is disturbing him? If we can't, you who is closer to them, cannot try to, even the Bible says, if someone does something wrong, you pick a person, you talk to them. If they can't change, get the next person, the other person, right? Why not do the same to reach out to our friends? Look, parents, I know there are parents who are watching. I feel sad today that mostly parents have lost relationships with their children. Parents today do not know the behavior of their children. A child can be emotionally affected. Let's take, for example, at school, he is being bullied. He comes home, he finds a father who is absent, a mother who is yelling, a father and a mother who has failed to notice that their child's performance at school has gone down. A mother and a father who has only concentrated on saying, I pay for you at school. Why are you don't need to perform like this. I was intelligent. Look at my results. My dear father, my dear mother, it is not you. It is your child. Why not identify this child was not like this?
What has gone wrong?
What has gone wrong? If they can't come out, I feel gone are the days when a parent would carry a child and take them to school and find out from the teacher what is wrong. Today there are children who don't reach school the whole term. They are in the bar drinking, come back home, sleep. If teachers and the school not call where the child is, parents will not know about it.
Wow.
We have leaders at church who are entitled to their children, who are entrusted by parents to their children. I was just telling someone to say, you see, I think it's high time as leaders, when we are handling the affairs of teens, get involved with the teachers and the parents. If a child is not performing well at school, it should be a concern for me as a leader. And a concern such that I should find out what is the problem with the child even at home. Just 2 weeks ago or so, grade 12 results were out. Social media was flooded with committed, this one wants to commit, a grade 12, a grade 9 committing suicide. Why?
Sad.
It's really sad. It
Very
makes me
sad.
get broken.
As a parent, of course.
You get it?
Yeah.
So, we are not reaching out. It involves all of us.
Well, you get it there, our viewers. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're just joining us, this is Hope Teens, and of course, each and every time that we come to you, we come with another exciting topic. And these are topics that you do not want to miss, because every time we're getting to learn something new. Are you just joining us on our Facebook platforms? We are live on our YouTube. Of course, you can join us on Hope Channel Zambia, and of course, you can send on your comments and contribution in the comment section, and we'll be able to read them right here on the show. Today, the topic has been mental illness. Of course, this is something that we do not want to run away from. Mr. Mbewe just talked about the series of deaths that we just encountered just when the grade 12 results were out. Today, I'm reaching out to you, my viewers, and asking you, do you know someone who's mentally unstable at this point? This is a mental illness that involves emotions, it involves behavior, it involves, of course, a whole lot of things in a human being. And if not addressed, trust me, the world and the society were going to lose many of our youth's life. But we don't want to lose life, and this is why we want to address the issue of mental health. Of course, mental health is cardinal, but mental illness needs to be addressed. If not, then we are going astray. A lot of young teenagers and youths and even elderly people out there, they need help. And that's why today we are here, and we want you to contribute and tell us what you think about this. Just before we go for a break, we're going to pose a last question, and then we'll be able to get on the other side and see what our viewers had to say on this topic. Mr. Mbewe, because before we break up for a short break, as a doctor, this is a statement that we have run with as who are not doctors, because we do not know what is there. So we have been told, or probably, put with a thought in our heads that not every one of us is not 100% normal. I don't know if I should also say you're not 100% normal where you're seated. So as a doctor, scientifically, how would you explain that to us? Is it true that we're not 100% normal? And if we are not, why is that? If we are, what is true, the explanation to a human being not being 100% normal?
I'd say yes, we are not 100% normal.
Okay.
Let me give you an example.
So we are all suspects of China.
Yes. Not China, but we are putting it in a perspective of our behavior and reactions.
Okay.
Look, we are a team. They know you, Faith, as a presenter, a jovial person, a person who is noisy. When Faith walks in the studio, everyone is laughing. All right?
Yes.
That is a normal way of living. Then suddenly, Faith walks in the studio, everyone is greeting her.
She's not responding.
She's not responding, or she responds in a way that everyone is not thinking that she'll respond. Is Faith normal at that point?
She's abnormal.
You can say abnormal, or there's something wrong, right?
True.
Which has affected her in a way, all right, which is not normal. So if a person takes it in a perspective of no, kupena, what? No, we are looking at it in a way they know Esau as a person who would, when something is wrong, really, or something is short for, he's going to react in a certain way. But at that point when they're expecting Esau to react in a certain way, he reacts differently, or maybe he doesn't even pay attention. People say, no, you've heard where people say, that is not him. That is not normal. That is where we are saying each person has got what? Not 100% what? Normal.
No,
At some point, people would take your reaction not in a normal way.
Okay.
From the normal way they know you.
I think that one has been justified. There you get viewers. So before we go for our short break, I want to leave you with a verse which is in the book of 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7 that says, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind. When we get back after our break, let's find out on what the sound mind is and how we can attain this sound mind. We'll be right back shortly.
As the state and well-being of the mind. If we don't look into it and if we don't notice that someone is affected mentally, it can affect them and it causes them to have suicidal thoughts and leading to killings in the communities.
My name is Laila Mkoka, and mental health for me is more than just a lack of mental disorder. It has to do with a person's ability to think, a person's ability to function, their feelings and their mood. Statistics show that more than 280 million people around the world are actually depressed, and so it's a very important thing to talk about because people's mental well-being affects the way they function at work, the way they are able to understand at school. It has a very big impact. And so statistics also show that suicide is one of the leading causes of death amongst people aged 15 to 29, and so it's very essential to pay attention to people's well-being. If you see people having difficulties fitting into their community, if they're having difficulties understanding at school, if they're having difficulties doing things that they usually love to do, pay attention to those little symptoms because they really mean a lot if you go deeper.
That would cause this person to be into mental illness conditions. We've talked about emotions, we've talked about behavior, and so many more. But if you're just joining us, don't feel left out. You can still visit our Facebook and YouTube social platforms, and there you'll be able to catch up with us. Before we left for our break, we had a verse that was standing, and this was 2 Timothy 1 verse 7, where it says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of sound mind. And now I'm posing the question to Mr. Mbewe, who is yet going to help us on understanding what God meant when he said sound mind. Mr. Mbewe, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
The question has been posed.
That question is very important. What is a sound mind? It's one having a clear thought, clear conscience. You are free. You don't have wrong ideas in your head. You have just a clear thought with you. You have a clear mind. You are clear with everything. Your conscience is free. You are distant. You want to focus on something.
Okay. Being a victim. Being a victim, Mr. Bill, I would want to probably request, what are the possible ways, or maybe your advice on the health perspective as a doctor? What can help one get to that part of a sound mind? Because trust me, on our own, I think sometimes. So what are some of the things that can be put in place to help someone have this sound mind that is being talked about, to a point where even when you're emotionally affected, mentally affected, you can still find a way out of that state and just find the inner peace somewhere? What can you do? Do you need to go jogging? Do you need to eat a certain diet? What can you do to balance it to that?
Let me put it in this context, then I break it down.
Okay.
1, know yourself. 2, know your ability. 3, know what you want. 1, if I know myself, I will eat well. I will know what to eat, when to eat, and how to eat. If I know myself, I'll be able to know, okay, my body is not feeling well, I'll go jogging. I'll exercise. If I know myself, I will not associate myself with wrong things. If at all wrong things are following me in a way, I'll try by all means to avoid them. If I know myself and I'm affected by something, I'll easily know it.
Okay.
Know my ability. If I am able, I know my abilities is, okay, I can do this perfectly and I can't do this perfectly. Let me go with what I am able to do perfectly. If I know myself, or if I know what I want by the end of the day, I will focus on achieving that. That is on a personal level. But with those around me, let's go to parents who are keeping the children. Know your child very well. If you know your child very well, you will be able to discover easily if there is something wrong. If you know the child very well, you will be able to know what you will give them at the right time and at the right place. If you know your child very well, you'll be able to know their healthy condition on time. Know the ability of your child. You see, I love the Western culture to some extent. They easily know the ability of their children. My child's ability is music. I will not force my child to go into doing medicine. I'll help my child go into their ability. If I know my child's ability and I know what they want, which is, by the end of the day, they want to be not a musician per se, but they want to write notes, they want to write songs and that, I will help them achieve that. But the problem is, we don't know all those. So in simple terms, on a personal level, I should eat well, I should study, I should be able to do things that make me feel at peace. Above all, seek wisdom and knowledge from God.
Very important. That was very important. So I asked that question, leading me to the next question of the day, Mr. Mbewe. The reason why I asked on what are some of the things that one should look out for in terms of what they are going through. Could it be emotional? Could it be a change of behavior? And you're trying to figure out. I'm meant to believe there are certain things that we get to change as individuals and we do not understand why we are changing. It will take us time, perhaps. That's if we have come to understand who we are and question. Let's say maybe today, like you mentioned earlier before we went for the break, I'm jovial, I'm this, and then this time you greet me and I'm not responding. You haven't seen the side, I'm showing a side that you have not seen in me. So it could be even me at that time. I can't notice that I did that. There are certain things like that. So leading me to the next question, I asked about the sound mind. Like, how can one help themselves get into that atmosphere of overlooking everything around them and just say, okay, regardless of what I am going through, I can still be at peace with myself and still, move on. So the question would be, on the rampant deaths that we have experienced. Before you went for a break, we talked about that. So one of the things that we could look back on, you talked about grade 12 and probably the people who were writing, the kids that we lost, did not receive it well. And we are just assuming to say maybe they had threats from family, or maybe it was intimidation from friends. What are my friends going to say about me now that I haven't done this, now that I haven't done this, So in that scenario, how would you help a teenager to just make peace with their emotions? Because at that time, things are just not at peace with themselves. So now this peace of mind has been brought in, and you say know yourself and know that. But what would be your advice before you tell them to know themselves? What would be the brighter side of the situation you would encourage a teenager to look at and say, okay, maybe you haven't discovered yourself, but regardless of what you're going through, there's still something better?
They say when life gives you a lemon,
Squeeze it and make juice.
squeeze it and make lemonade. Are we there?
Yes.
It's so sad that from January to date, I personally, as Esau, has lost, I think I can say more than 4 people that I know, people that are close to me, due to suicide. All right? And it breaks me because to some extent I was telling myself, what can I do to help out? Now, this is not only the grade 12s that we're seeing on Facebook. We've seen people that are married that have taken their own lives. We've seen people that are in universities that have taken their own lives. Now, these are things that border on failure of exams,
True.
a failed marriage, border on one not accepting the situation they're in.
That one. Very hard.
Okay?
Yeah.
These are issues that border on these relationships that are available, that are toxic. And if we as a people try to hide that these things are not happening, we will not be able to get rid of these rampant suicides that are happening. Let's go to a grade 12. A young person who has failed grade 12 decides to commit suicide. What is wrong?
I wonder.
You would wonder. But to some extent, to me, I'll try, let's investigate. Is that child, was it he or she being bullied when they were being in school? Secondly, was this child paying attention in school? As a parent, did I take time to identify the ability of my child? Was my child a slow learner? What happened for a child not to pass? Was a child exposed to this society? You see, sorry, I'll mention this, but parents should understand one thing. Paying for a school child, paying DSTV full bouquet, and giving food to their child, and being unavailable as a parent to know what a child is going through is not love. Worse off not leading a child to the throne, to God. Because if my parents are able to tell me to say, in the Bible it states that suicide, you judge yourself. They know more about suicide. I don't think that child would do that. All right. If as a parent, make that child understand that once you fail, you can build yourself and do it in a better way. By the way, one scholar told me that the word fail, F-I-L, is just the first attempt in learning. How many people have failed in life? And they are still there and they've made it in life. And so, the help I would give, it is now that probably teachers, parents, the community, and the society at large, the church, take these things seriously. Let's stop thinking that mental illness is a situation for the West. we live with it now, and that is why we have those suicidal issues.
Very true.
So if we can realize that and speak to these young ones now, it will be easy, the easiest help we can give right now. Let us not wait to start saying, oh, that one has died, oh, that one has done what, and condemning. Yet we did not look at it in those perspectives.
Very true.
When children are going to school, they are being bullied.
They're going through a lot, actually.
You as a parent, he comes home, she cannot open up to you. And then, why can that child open up to you? Because you have not created a relationship with them. If you create a relationship with them, if they are being bullied, they will come and say, Mommy and Daddy, there is such a child who is bullying me. Our children are exposed to this world through the phones that we have, the gadgets that we have, DSTV that is there. They see things that they fantasize about. A grade 12 in a serious relationship. They have planned to have children by the name of so. If she makes a mistake, he makes a mistake, they are fighting every day there. The concentration comes, she comes home, the boyfriend insults and everything, insults her, tells her this and this. She's about to write exams. She's intelligent, she's disturbed. She can't concentrate because she's crying. You have failed as a parent to notice that your child has had this situation.
All those situations. Okay, so this far you have helped us on how you can try and fight this mental illness, knowing yourself, and this far that we have come, a whole lot of knowledge has been spread out there. But I just want you to probably help one or two people out there. Like I did mention it, to say it's possible to be mentally unstable or mentally ill, but yet you do not know that this is what's going on with me. What are some of the things that we could look out for? Probably for me, if I want to know if I'm not okay, I'm not okay. Maybe I'm just there thinking I'm not okay, and maybe somebody they don't know that they are not okay, yet they are not okay. And at the end of the day, because of all piled up issues, they only resort to suicide, or maybe, all these things of getting to drug abuse and being the victims of sexual abuse and all those kind of things. What are some of the things that you would look out for to know that I'm mentally ill?
All right. Like I mentioned earlier, we are talking about behavior. We are talking about our mood. Okay. When you talk about the thinking, I'm a student. When I sit to study for an exam on a normal basis, I would go 3 hours, 4 hours, I'm doing it. I love it. But now, because I have something bothering me, I get a book, I look at it, I put it, I'll get back. From nowhere, I have no infection, no nothing. I'm good at eating breakfast, lunch, supper. My mood changes. I start eating once. Maybe I start keeping myself. Mood of eating, appetite is not there. I am a people person. I go around, I greet everyone, I talk up to everyone. Suddenly, I isolate myself from the people. Okay? So, I should be able to look out the things that I've been doing. I am not able to do it. My family, I talk to everyone. Suddenly, they are watching TV, they are on the table eating, I'm not there, I'll just say, oh, I'm coming. That should be a problem. I should ask myself, what is wrong with me? And that could have been triggered with one or two things that I've received from maybe the society or something else.
Wow, okay, just before we wind up the show, we have talked about all these things, and now we want to know, why is it important for young people to have a proper mental health? Why is it important for them?
It's very important to have a proper mental health. It will determine their progress in life. It will determine their destiny in life. It will make them better and good citizens of this society.
And what would be your advice to the parents and guardians on looking out for the young ones? Now, at this point, I want us to look at it in a way that, let me not be a parent only to the children by birth. Because I'm their biological mother, I'll be a parent to my children. We know to say there are people who are vulnerable out there. They don't have their parents, but if you are a parent, for me, I believe you are a parent to many. And if you are told, or if you are said to be a mother, your character of motherhood should spread out even outside your home. Today, if these people who are in suicide cases, if you see that your friend's child is not okay, I think it wouldn't be a crime if you went in and helped. Because when the loss is made, you will hold yourself accountable and you will beat yourself up to say, I would have done it. So what would be your advice to guardians and parents on how this issue of mental health can be addressed in teenagers, the youths, and even the elderly ones? Because I think not only the teenagers are victim of this suicide and mental health that we're talking about, but what would be your word in regards to mental health?
My word to the parents out there, like you've put it, when I read on Facebook or I read on social media to see someone has committed suicide due to mental illness, it should trigger me that I've lost a brother, I've lost a sister, a cousin, or a relative. I'll bring it to 3 family setups. The first family setup is the home that we live in. Let us know each other, our abilities, our weaknesses, and our strengths, and who we are. Let us not be a family which cannot sit together and see where our friend is, whether our friend is okay and or not okay. Let us not wait for our friend to die and show love. Where a person dies, they commit suicide, they die maybe they went into drugs because of mental illness, they are hit on the road, we show ourselves around, we buy expensive coffins, we cry to the most. Let's use those tears that we use to help a brother and a sister whilst they are going through that state. Church setup is another family that we have. I know I'm on a station that is run by the church. I'll speak this with all the emotions that I can do. Our leaders of the church, let us bring programs, add programs that will help the young people not to undergo mental illness. If it means Bible studies, a curriculum in the youth movement, workshops, so on and so forth, even probably clubs should be established that would be helping one another to talk about these issues. Every time and then. Community, the schools, teachers, when we see our children behaving in the way that they were not behaving, let's reach out. When we talk about community, because here is a 15-year-old boy who is supposed to be in class, and I'm selling liquor. He comes to my shop, I give them, without inquiring what is the problem. Selling cigarettes, so on and so forth. I think for me, I'm not doing justice to that child. Even as I make that money, I should feel guilty. Let us look at these issues with the matter of urgency, like we look at other issues. And let us realize to say, now, this mental illness is not for the West, but is for us, because we have it.
Okay, I think this is a topic that is all wide and broad. But just in your last word, we're running behind time. The last remarks, what is your last advice that you would want the viewers to go with from you today?
The last words are that to the viewers, us remember, mental illness is real. It's around us. If we are going through something, if you are affected, seek help from healthcare providers. We have counselors around. If you cannot, run to those you feel can help you. There are law enforcers. If you're abused, run to the police. Go and report. If you think it's something that needs prayers, run to the church. Get counseling from our church leaders. If it's school-related, run to the teachers. By the way, I wouldn't be, to me, it wouldn't be a problem if I discover that my child says his ability or her ability is not being in class, but their ability is to do something or be an arts and crafts personnel, or to be a footballer, or to be something that will make them feel they can do it. I feel it's high time we looked at the abilities of the children and help them in those directions. Let's not force them, because Esau is an accountant and is a father. He should force a child to go and do accounts. These are situations where a child goes to university for accounts, fails all the 4 years. In the end, because you tell the child, I am putting in money, you are failing. And he can't come out to you and say, I have failed. But because you have forced them and you're putting in money, they commit suicide. So let's look at the ability of the children. Lastly, let us show love to one another when we are still alive, fit, and we can advise.
Okay.
Let's not wait to condemn. When you see me doing something wrong, you don't even know what is going through my head. You start condemning me. Reach out to me and show me love. Talk to me. Let me be the normal person that I'm supposed to be.
Well, thank you so much. God is our comforter. He is our refuge. He is the best friend that you can never have. He is the one who would listen to the deepest cries of your heart, one who will show you the right way, even in the deepest times of distress. He is the one who gives the inner peace and the sound mind that we request for. Much has been said, but it would all be nothing and vanity if God is absent in it. Do you need help? Look out to God. If you have no one to talk to, God is always there and present. And trust me, He will give you the right and the best direction that you would ever need. Thank you so much for joining us today for this topic. Of course, it is broad and wide, and there's a whole lot more that we could have learned. But this far, I hope that we have been able to tackle a few things in as much as it is a wide topic. But with the few that we have been able to stretch out today, I hope somebody out there has been helped. And don't forget, if you are going through this situation, don't rush to suicide. Don't rush to drug abuse. Don't rush to be the version of yourself that you are not. Don't give yourself a fake identity simply because you want to fit in a particular environment. Take that situation as a learning process, and above all, commit it to God in prayer. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your presenter, Faith Malambo, and of course, our very one and able-bodied guest of the day, Mr. Mbewe. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
To the entire Hope Channel crew and Hope Channel director, Hope Teens director, I want to say thank you so much to my director and producer, Mr. Vijay Ngosa. Till next Sunday, we are saying stay blessed, and always remember, we are nothing but God's creation, and only Him will show us the right way to go. Stay safe and don't ever forget to pray.